Hello, Jen. It's Tina Dalia with Assigned Female at Birth. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. I'm out here on the West Coast and
Me as
honored
well.
to be interviewing you. Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
yeah, of course. Laura Lynn seemed very genuine, and I thought the idea was really interesting to do a play about this, especially in this times of quarantine and a pandemic. I was like kind of curious about how that would play out. But the way that they did it, it's almost more like a web series. It sort of kind of feels like.
Yeah.
Um, so that was sort of like, oh, that's really awesome that they were able to do it in that way. I'd be very curious if it becomes a stage production, how that will look. Um, but I was really impressed with and like surprised of how like the conversations Laura Lynn and I had just flowed very well, and we actually had some very powerful moments, I remember. So it was really kind of neat to speak to somebody who wanted to hear my story, but also with me coming away with sort of these like powerful anecdotes or just sort of thoughts that I hadn't really thought about before. So that was a really nice surprise to come away with. And then just seeing the end result of sort of how it all came together was pretty neat to see. And the dialogue, and how I knew that a lot of the dialogue was from people's actual words, which was pretty neat. What's great about is how much more accessible it is. Accessibility is like a really key component to reaching out to people, right? If it was a stage production,
Yeah.
the accessibility decreases a little bit versus something like that's how it is right now. So I really hope that with it being on the internet, being in YouTube, it can be reachable to so many more people out there. Yeah, I'm very curious to see who it resonates with, and who wants to keep watching and who wants to stick with these characters and these people, not even just characters, really real people, and kind of see this creative perspective of what some writers kind of think about, kind of took their words and put it into art. I think that's a really cool way, because instead of just having an interview, instead of just screaming into the void as one singular person, you have sort of a means of getting your story out there through a creative way. One of like the really key points of this that I felt was really important is that I feel like representation matters, and seeing yourself, a part of yourself, on something as widely available as YouTube, it really can deeply affect you. And I think what this production does is that it represents so many different kinds of people that I think it's bound to affect a lot more people than we think. And I think that's so important. I feel, mainstream culture, I feel like in terms of physical bodies is slowly starting to shift, but it's usually more about like weight. I feel like in mainstream culture, it's about fat or skinny. We're starting to talk about curves and how curves are okay, and being, fat phobia, and it's all, which is wonderful and great. But that's just one lane of physical, self-love, physical self-love that exists out there, and that's certainly important. But there are things such as, disability, whether they be visible or invisible. There's just so many other, and gender fluctuation and gender presentation and all those things. So I feel like this production helps with representation, which is more powerful, I think, than we give it credit for.
Jen, it's so good to meet you virtually.
You as well.
Under circumstances, it would be so person, meet you virtually and have this conversation with you and interview with you. And
yeah, thank you so much.
So thank you for being a part of Assigned Female at Birth.
Thank you so much.